Hey there, welcome to this episode, and today we are diving back into DJ mode, and I want to attempt to mix a record, talk about the fundamentals of mixing, just in case you're, unfamiliar with it, you want to start learning how to mix things, and maybe you've got a little SP, this is going to be your kind of first dive into the mixing world. So, as I said, we're kind of pretending we've got two turntables here, this is our little mixer in the middle. We're going to get this set off, so we've synced our tracks together. We're using the sync buttons as we spoke about in the last episode. So we're taking out that headache of trying to find our BPM and kind of match our pitch, which when you've got a turntable, something, a DJ controller, there's generally like a slider that controls your speed. We're kind of doing away with that for now. So we've locked our two tempos together. It's done the hard work for us. But we still need to be able to mix this thing together, and it's not a foolproof system. Doesn't mean that as soon as you press play on your second track, it's automatically going to lock them together and stay in the groove. It doesn't do that. And actually, I kind of like that it doesn't do that, because it's going to force you to learn to actually DJ a little bit. And you're going to need to be able to use your bend buttons depending on how good your timing is. And I'm going to demonstrate this outside of the headphones, of course. Normally you would be mixing inside of your headphones, so you're doing this privately before you bring your track in, but I'm going to do this just kind of out in the open so you can hear what I'm doing, and hopefully the audio is not going to be too bad playing the tracks and talking over the top of it. So we've synced everything up. That's going to be our first port. The next thing, you need to understand the basics of bringing in a record, and in this case, because it's not a foolproof system, you are going to have to get your timing kind of right here. So when I'm listening to my first track that's going to be playing in a second, it's very easy with like 4/4 dance music. It's kind of kick, snare, very simple 4/4 pattern. I'm waiting and I'm kind of timing this in my head. I have my other track queued up here to the beginning of the track, and I know it starts with the kick drum, so it's going to start kick, snare, kick, snare. So all we're trying to do is match those two kicks and snares together essentially. And when I'm timing it, and I'll do this as like a live demonstration in a second, but I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and on that one I'm going to try and bring that record in and match it. Now that is trickier than it looks. I tried this before on this just to get an idea of whether it locks it in for you. That's how I worked out that it doesn't. So let's do it live out in the open now, see what happens. I'm going to press play on my first track, so our left turntable here. So our left turntable is playing. In our headphones, essentially, we would be doing this procedure. We want to listen. I would press Q here so that I can queue up my record. I can listen to it, make sure it's at the beginning. Using the Q mix at the top here, I could be over just listening to the Q input, so whatever I've got, loaded up here. Or if you slide it over using the Control 3 here, we can go to a mix and we can actually hear the mix output coming across. Now the other thing I'm going to put this over into is crossfader mode for a second, just because that's going to come into play. Now we're going to do start and end here, and we're now in crossfader mode where we can use Control 3 to crossfade between the two tracks. So this one is queued up. We've used our little rewind cue button here to make sure we're right on that kick drum. So I'm just going to count now my 1, 2, 3, 4, try and get this one to start playing in time with the first track. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, not so bad for a first attempt. What I might do is deliberately do it slightly out of time, so you can see how using your pitch bend buttons will allow you to push it back into time. Let's cue it back up again first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can hear that's deliberately out of time. You can hear our snares clashing together, which isn't very nice. So we need to establish what is the problem here. Is this one too slow or is it too fast? And a simple pitch bend will generally get you in the right, area, the right ballpark. I'm going to go with trying to speed it up a little bit because I think it's probably playing a little bit slower than the first track. Okay, not bad. You could probably tweak it a little bit more, but we're generally in the right ballpark there. So essentially we have now just mixed our first track with our second track. That would have been done inside of your headphones. So maybe you would have your volume control right down here. And and you'd slowly bring your next track into the mix, all nicely synced and timed up, and then we can fade out our other track. And we're off and running. And of course, you can just keep repeating that process. You're going to switch over back to this turntable, load up a new track, and mix in again, and just keep moving forward and creating your mix. So the fundamentals of it are pretty basic, really, but that is how we would mix two tracks together. What's nice is that we can, you know, mix between the two now using our volume faders. Bring this one back in. And if we want to, we can use the crossfade with Control 3. Get our old school mix on. So that is essentially how we mix a record here inside of the SP-404 MKII. Hopefully that was easy to follow. The sound quality wasn't too bad with me talking over the top of it. And in the next episode, I want to look a little bit more at some of the other functions. There's the queuing function that we can look at in a bit more detail and some other things. So I'll catch you in that episode. Take care, and I'll see you then.